J.K. Rowling has a new legal fund. The J.K. Rowling Women's Fund is a legal fighting fund for women protecting their sex based rights. Their website says the J.K. Rowling Women's Fund offers legal funding support to individuals and organizations fighting to retain women's sex based rights in the workplace, in public life, and in protected female spaces. It provides women with the means and confidence to bring to justice cases that make legal precedents, force policy change, and make positive contributions to women's lives in the future. And then they have another section that goes into detail on what specifically they fund. We fund legal representation for women and organizations who have lost their livelihoods or are facing tribunals because of their expressed beliefs, are being forced to comply with unreasonable inclusion policies regarding single sex spaces and services, or female only clubs and events, are challenging legislation that would take away the freedoms or protections women are entitled to. So basically, if you can read between the lines here, and I hope most of you can, this is just a fund to help combat trans rights, I'm guessing specifically in the UK. So, for example, if a workplace has a woman's bathroom and all women are allowed to use that bathroom, including trans women, but one individual takes issue with that, J.K. Rowling's legal fund would support that individual if that were to elevate to a legal proceeding. That is just one example, but that is what I suspect would be the case here. The third point doesn't necessarily outright say it, but the fact that it says challenging legislation which takes away the freedoms or protections women are entitled to, I imagine that will be more so focused on going after laws that give trans women more rights, as opposed to actually going after laws that take rights away from women as a whole. I would be interested to see if this legal fund ends up supporting anyone that is not in a legal battle involving trans rights. But I imagine that the bulk of these cases that it does take on will be involving trans rights or suppressing trans rights in some way, shape, or form. And to be clear, this is not new for J.K. Rowling. Most notable, however, may be when she donated money to the For Women Scotland group, which is an anti trans group that lost a challenge in 2024 against a Scottish law that legally recognized trans women as women. They would then appeal this case to the UK Supreme Court, who ruled last month that trans women are not considered women under the nation's Equality Act, which J.K. Rowling openly celebrated on her social media. One last thing before I end this video. If you scroll down to the bottom of the JKRWF website, you will find this little tab here, and when you click on it, it brings up this little blurb about J.K. Rowling picking Athena to represent her legal fund and incorporating Athena's symbol into the JKRWF logo, and that it signifies a shield and a woman, and how that seems appropriate. For me, I think this is just another representation of how J.K. Rowling is a very surface level person. She does not know how to dig a little deeper and be a little bit more critical of the thing in front of her. Because even taking out of the equation the plenty of times that the Greek gods and goddesses would disguise themselves as the opposite sex for whatever various shenanigans, Athena herself does not conform to the typical gender roles of the time. She is someone who has both feminine and masculine gender roles assigned to her. So, for J.K. Rowling to pick her, fairly interesting. Not that it necessarily matters or makes much of a difference, but I did think it was an interesting thing to point out. And one last thing for the nerds out there. While I was doing research for these videos, I stumbled upon something called the Orphic hymns, which, for lack of a better description, are basically a collection of hymns addressed to specific deities. It was written by a cult community around the 2nd or 3rd century in modern day Turkey. And the hymn addressed to Athena has an interesting line in it. Mother of arts, imperious, understood, rage to the wicked, wisdom to the good. Female and male, the arts of war are thine, fanatic, much formed, dragoness divine. So, while it may not be indicative of a larger trend, I do think it's interesting that even going back to the 2nd or 3rd century, we can find texts that suggest that the line when it comes to gender and Athena has always been a little bit blurred. And honestly, I really just wanted to share that and talk about it a little bit, so another reason I ended up making this video. I wanted to nerd out over the ancient text from the cult, what can I say? But with that, thank you for watching the video. I appreciate you. Be sure to give it a like if you enjoyed it. Let me know down below, what do you think of J.K. Rowling? Personally, I think she is a bitter, sad, woman with not much going on in her life at this point. I think she is a washed up hack. Her moment in the sun came and went, and rather than fade into obscurity, she is trying to cling onto whatever thread of relevancy she can find. And at this point, that is attacking trans people, because unfortunately, that is very popular right now. Which, if you were on Twitter recently, should be very evident to you. When you can have a post going around about someone taking their own life and people are celebrating it because of the simple fact that that person was trans, I hope you can understand why I think that this is also part of J.K. Rowling cashing in on a trend here, and that trend is hating trans people. That's not to say that I think this is a grift on J.K. Rowling's part. I think that she does hate trans people. And in some ways, I understand why she is as bitter as she is. Because it must be tough to know that your moment has come and gone, to know that you will never be as relevant as you once were, and that the very thing that gained you relevance in the first place will long outperform you and long outlive you. They are remaking her series, and she's not involved with it. She has nothing to do with it. She has burned every bridge and scorched every opportunity. And now she is left with her own hatred. I don't even need to be a fan of the Harry Potter series to say that the legacy Harry Potter will leave will be far more positive than any legacy J.K. Rowling will leave. Okay, I need to finish the outro. I always do this. Like, I always end up in a rant in the outro, and the outro ends up being like 3 extra minutes. I need to stop doing this. I'm sorry. Once again, thank you for watching. Give the video a like for me. Hit the subscribe button for me. With that being said, take care of yourself. Free Palestine. And goodbye.